Welcome, sisters, to another episode of the Creatress Rising Show. Today we have the beautiful Mia. Mia is an embodiment teacher, movement facilitator, body intuitive, and an energy channel. And her life's work and her life's passion is a love letter to the human body. I just love that. Thank you so much for joining me, Mia.
Oh, I have goosebumps when you share this. Really, I feel it in my face. Like, yeah, it really touched me. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Beautiful. How did you get started with this work, and what was it that made you realize that you were so passionate about the human body and embodiment?
Yeah, I was a personal trainer for like 10 years. And I always had this curiosity about the human body, and I was reading everything, trying to practice everything. I probably practice, I don't know, most of the healing work you can do, or like the movement practices, because I'm very, very curious about the possibilities. And at some point I realized that all the things that I was doing and teaching, because I was also a movement educator, is mostly in masculine energy. And it's like, you body do, I tell you what to do. And then the body has to follow. And I came to a point where I was like, I'm really done with this. I feel like something is calling me to do it differently. And I have to admit, at that time, I had no idea about somatic movement, somatic meditation, because it was not something, I'm German, it was not big in Germany. I mean, we had Feldenkrais, we had Alexander technique, but it was not a biggie to call it somatics, you know? Mm-hmm. So then I found my own somatic journey, actually, without knowing it's somatic or it's embodiment work, because I realized something is off. And I can tell you, I've seen hundreds of movement professionals moving, but also sharing about themselves. And I always felt in all the education courses that I was teaching, something is off. I can see something is not, some pieces are not fitting together, because what they share and what they know is not reflected in the way they move and the way they act, mostly in the way they move. So you can have all the knowledge about how the body should move properly, but then doing it is a different thing. And that's the same with our spiritual and conscious work. We can have all the knowledge, like, yeah, it's very important to be very present, you know, but are we really present? And so I somehow had a really, I know it's always the story, like I had this great awakening, but yeah, it was kind of a great awakening. And then for me, it was like, I'm done with this masculine energy. I really want to, you know, follow this, because I always work intuitively, but I always beat myself up for doing it. Always when I saw my client and I had something planned and I saw them, I was like, no, they need something different. So I was always doing it without knowing. And I was always doing embodiment work without knowing, always trying to really connect them to their bodies, really like feel the movement, what you're doing, really get into your muscles, into your fascia. So it was kind of like born through my personal training work. And then somehow later, and I still do it, it's kind of like describing it, putting it into a system, make it teachable, understandable, what I see. Because when I see, and that's probably a gift that I have, is, for me, it's very obvious when I see somebody moving, I see very clearly the blockages. I can see very clearly where they're not free. I don't know, it's where the energy is not flowing. I can see it very well. I can see what is off. And then in my movement facilitation, like in my workshops, I can point that out and say, hey, you know, look, move this, move that. And yeah. I hope that is I guess that's a short answer to something where I can, you know, talk about hours.
Yeah, absolutely. So a question that comes out of what you just shared is that, you know, if we look at traditional personal training, right? And personal training is, you know, mostly for people who want to get fit or stay fit, or want to lose weight. You know, there's a certain body image style to it, you know, to feel great about your body because it looks good, you know. So it's either weight loss or muscle kind of mass. how has that shifted for you now that you're looking at the body from a somatic, you know, and a much softer feminine kind of journey? How do you look at those desires in people of wanting to lose weight, wanting to look great, all those kinds of things?
Let me feel into this. I know it personally in my own journey that I feel it can be like an overweight, can be an energetic overweight. So it can be a heaviness, it can be tension that is stored in the body, it can be energy that is stored in the body that makes you feel very heavy. And of course, we all want to look nice. But I know at some point, when I look back, I was quite skinny, but I always felt a bit heavy and big. And I did not know what it was, but I guess it was some sort of like energetic heaviness. And yeah, I guess when you lose an amount of like energy that is, you know, not serving you, then you might feel already better in your body. And I also guess that this energetic overweight, like people taking up energies, and then it gets stuck in the body. And there's also on the physical level, it's like this lymphatic system of like not detoxifying, not releasing things, and it gets stuck in the body. So I guess the desire to lose weight is actually a desire to really lose these things that are stuck in the system. And
Yeah.
can do a lot of like energy movement, like, you know, like this tapping and like lymphatic work. What I do, like face massage is a big one, right? I do face massage very often. I love it. Or like any kind of like tapping work, like where you really activate the energy flow, or like qigong. And I see movement as something where I can activate, and it's actually pretty much qigong or tai chi style, which I also didn't know that it is, to really activate the energy flow in my body. And I believe when we activate the energy flow in the body, then also the physical body will shift and will release this what is there. But just going and doing like muscular work, like like this treadmill thing where you see people are so disembodied, they just run, look at a screen, and it's like, I just treat my body like, I want you to lose weight, I want you to lose weight. But it's just the energy that is stuck in the system. And in my own personal experience, the more energy I could release, the more I feel light and good. And then this inner feeling of how heavy I feel or how light I feel match with my body image. Does it make sense what I say?
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. And so tell me more about somatic work. It's really interesting for me because when I had a vision and I had a feeling and an energy of what I wanted to create with this summit, right? And I started putting it out there and communicating with different speakers to see who would come and answer that energetic kind of image that I put out there, right? And so many of you have this somatic, you all come from different versions of it, but this somatic embodiment. And it's gotten me really curious. Like, I want to know more about just this somatic element of it. Like, what does it mean to you, and what is it that you absolutely love about it?
You know, I'm just getting a signal from my body, and I don't know, it's like if you have a conversation and I feel my body responding to this question in a way that I feel I get uplifted and my body is responding. So my mind is like, okay, what could I say to this? You know, okay, what sounds smart? And then I have my body is responding and it is like awakening. So somehow my body loved the question. This is somatic, and soma is the living body. And so what I also, coming back to what I shared before, the way I was educated in my personal training, education, and my personal trainings, and what I also shared was very mechanical approach, very masculine, but the body is not a machine, not at all. There was actually a company that I'm working for, and they called Make Your Body Your Machine. That was their claim. And that's all good. But I realized, no. this is, it's not just muscles I have to train. It's not fascia that I manipulate. No, no, no. It's like, it's so much more. And when you realize the living body is like, it's such a magical, intelligent being, way more than just a machine. And this is basically the realization of the somatic work. And it's like the ongoing curiosity about what is alive in me right now? How do I respond? How do I respond to the words that I'm sharing? And I feel really alive to share this right now. So somatic work is also, now talking to you, I could, the screens really take us out of our bodies somewhere. But my work is really sharing of how can I stay as connected as possible while I'm talking with you, while I'm looking on the screen. And part of my work is through the somatic movement that I share, through the somatic meditations, to really find an anchor within your body. And then be with the external world. And that's a big part of my practice, because what I feel is missing in many of the spiritual practice that we do, in the conscious practice and all the, I see so many people here in Bali like going to this course and this teacher training and so there's so many things you can do, but the main point is you would do it in a disembodied state if you're not connected to your body enough. And I have a few key points I could share if you want. What is disembodiment? Because it sounds very harsh. I know it sounds very harsh. And I also have to say, even me as an embodiment teacher, even if I practice a lot, I know, if I'm really honest with me, I could be more embodied. I could be more live from my bones. I could, bring my awareness more into my body, because we're mostly in our head mind thinking. And because this is what the world is like, and it's something that we can consciously shift. And there is a mind. The mind is all in the body. And then you can think, I know how it is. You can think and respond through your whole being. And then you become a whole, or not you become aware of your wholeness. And then you start living from this living body and not from like this concept and ideas. And so, yeah, I believe this is like the disembodiment that I see and notice, and that I also saw in the trainers I was teaching, that even though I have all these knowledge about the body, they're still disembodied or not embodied enough, let's say it this way, which means their energy, that's my definition, their energy is not enough anchored in their bodies and centered. And then easily, if you're in the mind, you go everywhere. Like you go, there's so many departures, like your family, your work, the next project. It's like all these departures, and you don't know where am I actually. So you're kind of lost. And somatic work, in the way I feel it, is really coming back to the body. And of course, feeling the sensation, feeling the structure, having a clear idea of yourself in space. Is like, where am I? Because when I don't know where my body is, I'm technically lost. Like if I don't know where I am, I'm lost. And then we feel lost because we're in our mind. Yeah, I see. I could go on for
the sense. Yeah, the sense that I really get is it's like when you come back to the body, you realize that you are whole, whereas the mind is fractured through different, it's just fractured from your childhood, from genetics, from the global pandemic, from from everything. And so if you're living in your mind, you feel like an incomplete, lost, fractured kind of being, whereas when you're in the body, you realize that you are a whole and complete being. And just that, it's like so much of the personal development of the 80s is kind of taken us into this place. Well, I have to deal with that before I'm better, and so it's like I keep dealing with that, and then I'm going to deal with this again, and then that again, and then this again, and then that again. And that is also this perpetual cycle of feeling fractured and lost. And so
I mean,
coming back to that wholeness, well, that changes everything then, doesn't it?
yeah, like sometimes I recently also didn't feel so well. I had so many things going on, and then I was with a friend, and he holds space for me that I could drop into my body. And when I was in my body, because something, kind of like kicked me out. So I know it very well because in my own journey, it's not that I was just embodied and like, oh, the word is not embodied. And I was like, what the hell is going on with me? And through my own like exploration and questioning, why do I have so many hours of like healing sessions and readings, human design and astrology and tarot, and I know so much stuff about the body, and I know so much stuff about embodiment. Why do I still feel like this? And I know so much stuff about the nervous system. It's like, because you're trapped in your mind and you don't notice it, right? And of course, all the to-dos. We know when we have like online businesses, we're on the computer, there's so many things to do, and we're so like, and it's just so easy to get lost. And it's fair it's fair, like, yeah, because this world is supporting us to be disembodied. Being on the phone, right, is like, myself media, and then you're like,
and we're all learning. Yeah, we're all learning this process, even though you're an embodiment teacher, it's like in 10 years, embodiment's going to be so much more than it does today. So it's like, yeah, you can share the way, but you're going to always be sharing the way. And I feel like that with Creatress Rising, it's like, this is our first summit and we got tech issues and internet dodginess, but it's like, let's keep coming together, let's keep showing up, let's keep going into deeper and deeper into the body and deeper into this journey, and let's just do it together. So what's my next question?
what are you
really yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I feel really we'll just do a silent interview from here on in. No. How do you practice your embodiment? Like, what are the things that you wake up with each day, and what are the things that you realize that you need to hold in your space, like have as your intention, not work on, I don't want to use the work on word, but like, what are those things that you feel present in your journey with embodiment, in terms of embodiment?
So luckily, it's very fascinating, especially these days. Like every morning when I wake up, I am in a complete embodied state. So I feel and this is how I actually got educated. And this is where I felt like I get knowledge that is like somehow ingrained in me, that is like transmitted, or how do you say, like, basically I was infused with these certain states where I felt like I'm completely in my body. There is like peace and ease. And there's a certain way of some alignment inside of me. And I can half awake. I don't even know what it is, to be honest. If it's half awake, if I'm sleeping, if it's like lucid dreaming, I don't know. But it's like a state where I feel, wow, my energy is like so in my body, and the mind is quiet. So I nearly, like at least the last 2 weeks, I woke up in this state. So I know this state when I wake up. So when I now go back and be more awake, then there's a shift happening. That's why I know how it is when the mind comes back and all these, oh, I have to do this and this, how this is kind of like taking me out. So what I practice the small moments in life. This is very important. The small moments, the mundane moments that looks like it's not really important. I can shine and be like, I do an interview and talk about all these embodiment stuff. I can facilitate workshops and I'd be like, yay, But what if these small moments that are so like, doesn't look, don't look important. What if they are the moments where we can really, walk our talk, and really when we're just alone with us, when we just be with ourselves, waiting for something, waiting for food, driving somewhere. What if these moments we can make them to really come back to the body? So that's what I practice, because I think that's the missing link. Of course, I have practices where I sit down and do like somatic meditation, like really tuning into the body. I do my movement practice where I allow my body to just freely move. I do like practices where I spark the energy flow in my system, where I really help to open up the body. That's part of my movement practice, which I call Embodied Feminine Flow. Really help the body to open up, release tension. It's a biggie, like really release tension. It's like when I come back to my body, I see like, and I just notice while speaking, I mean, that's a normal thing. If you speak, there is a certain tension that is good, but maybe I can also do the same share right now with a bit less tension in my body. Maybe then my voice shifts, you know? So I see that I can be in all of the moments in my life, like be really connected to myself, see when I departed somewhere else, coming back. So it's not that I have like, yeah, I practice every morning this time and then in the evening this time. No, I see like my whole life becomes the practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
And so let's talk about the nervous system, because I feel like that's a good one. And I feel like it's something that's relevant for everybody in the Western world today. Everybody in the Western world today has something going on. Something is triggering their nervous system. And so what are some of the things that we can do to really, calm that nervous system down? Besides like not drinking coffee and the really obvious ones.
Yeah, I mean, if that's exactly what I just shared. Everything that I shared before is exactly when I now look from the perspective of the nervous system, is like when I'm in my body, my brain, let me say it different. So if I'm in my body and I feel what's going on, the sensations, I basically connect to the sensory stream of the nervous system, which is like the upward stream. That's the stream that gives information to the brain. So I can connect to this one. And it's basically, if I'm in the body with my awareness, paying attention to myself, then I basically say to the brain, hey, somebody's here. Hello, somebody's here. Somebody's taking care of this beautiful human body. And don't worry, So basically, by coming back to the body, we give a signal to the brain, you can, everything is fine here. It's very simple. So it's simple as that. It's like being in the body is basically the best thing you can do, because when we're stressed and we have to run for our lives, we're just like this, right? So, and that's fine. But if the kind of like threat is over, then then we have to, when we're then keep being, disembodied, not connected to what's going on here, then the brain don't get the signal of, hey, everything is fine. So when we come back to the body, we simply so that's the number first. Of course, like the main point, like coming back to the body is like easing. Second one is then using gravity, feeling, I can do it right now, we can do it right now, really feel the connection to the ground. Really important, so if I feel like the support from below, that's another really big thing for the nervous system, because we tend to hold our bodies up. And if we then really, and that's a somatic practice actually, it's like you feel the floor, a connection to the ground, and then you yield into the support. And then you also feel yielding, there's a natural push from below, that you're being held. And if the body feels like I'm supported, I'm being held, there's also a sense of stability, which comes from the ground. And there's a sense of support. And this also gives us like a connection, like a feeling of like, okay, everything is good. So coming back to the center, coming back to the ground is like, okay, I'm stable. Because when you run, and if you have to a flight somewhere, you're not really in connection to the ground. You really have to lift yourself up from the ground and move somewhere. And like yielding is like, okay. And then of course we have breath, right? It's like, how is my breath? If you just tune in and feel how is the breath? I'm a huge advocate of not doing like too much like because this can be, I don't know, it for me in my feminine perspective and what I feel, it's not my thing. I like more like subtle practices, and I feel like we can do a bit less and just like observing the breath, and at some point the breath shifts, and of course we can do like deeper breath, but it's a bit you know, see like this small progress and then it gets deeper and deeper. I like to massage the body here, like really giving my body like giving some like massage in the rib cage, and then I feel I'm more open here, and then the breath is going deeper because I like did some body work here, self how do you say, self-guided, self like myofascial release.
Yeah.
With my fingers, and then my breath is deeper, so I don't have to force my body. I don't really like forcing the body. I mean, it's nice to have sometimes like a very intense workout, but it's like really, the nervous system is also not really a place of innovation, and it's something that like a gradual shift is really good, like really being in connection with the nervous system. I see. I think I could talk about this for a longer time. I have one point that I want to share that's really important. And I lost my point. Coming back. So it's like the breath, and then see if you fully exhale, because when you fully exhale, you fully inhale. That's really important. I found my point again. So if you feel your body and you feel what's going on, you can, I love polyvagal theory. It's also pretty well known right now. And polyvagal theory has like 3 states. So a state of like, you feel like connected, you feel like happy, you feel like we're in connection, everything is in flow, my body is relaxed, I feel supported. And then this would be like the state of like an activated parasympathetic nervous system, which is really important. And then we have the sympathetic activation, which also can be fine because we have to do stuff and we, you know, we go on and have to do things. But if it's like a constant activation, then we're in stress, and then we're kind of like agitated, like so. And when I come back to the body, I notice what is my state right now, and because I know what my state is, I can then have a choice basically. How do I want to be? Oh wow, maybe I'm a bit too lazy, a bit like, so I need to energize myself, or I'm too stressed. So there's another like a third state, which is the freeze mode. So it's also parasympathetic nervous system, but it's like shut down. If a baby is screaming for like, I don't know how long, but it feels like nobody is listening to it, like wah, at some point it stops screaming, right? It's just like nobody's coming, and just goes into this freeze mode, like this kind of like playing, like pretending I'm dead, like, you know, like an animal do this, they pretend to be dead because this is a possible how do I say this,
Self-preservation.
Exactly. Thank you. Now I was like, yeah. I don't know the word in English. Fuck. Exactly. So playing that is like helpful because then you're not getting eaten. So it might be helpful. But then if you stay in a freeze mode, was what many women do, and I know this so well. I know freeze mode is like you're like feel like you're paralyzed. You cannot move. And you don't know how to get out. And how to get out of freeze mode is sometimes you really need somebody helping you, like co-regulation from outside, somebody who's like, hey, how are you okay? Or really need some activation in the nervous system. So if you're in freeze mode and then sit down for a meditation to get out of this, you not get out of this. You need, from a nervous system perspective, you need an activation to really bring you into sympathetic and then bring you into the balanced parasympathetic state. So it's really important. I would highly recommend check out polyvagal theory and really learn about these states, and then to really map your nervous system in your daily life. How am I right now? Oh, and then you get an awareness of your state, And then, so it's kind of like you start observing your own nervous system state. So this is really good to know what's going on.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So, Mia, can you tell us about some of the practices and some of the things that you are putting into the Creatress Rising? What are these practices about, and what are we going to learn from you?
Yeah, actually, exactly what I just, what I talked about. To make it easier, so this would be very easy to answer. So basically, I share why I feel, people not getting like the transformation they're craving for, and I share a bit what is like signs of like being not enough in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I have like a practice that I call a centered practice. So it's like it's like a meditation where you basically, you can do it at home and really feeling, it's a somatic practice, really feeling your whole body and being in contact with the moment. Because when we're so much in our mind and doing things, we're not really in contact with the moment. And then if we're really in our bodies, then this is my personal experience, then the moment pours in, and then there's really some shift happening. So there's a practice you can do at home. And then there's another video which brings this practice, the centered practice, on the road into daily life. So basically everything that I shared right now with you, there will be practices around this concept of like coming back to the body, practicing on your own, and then bringing this practice away from your meditation cushion into daily life. Like really, this is the core practice, like be in touch with your body, one eye into the body, one eye into your nervous system and energy, like what's going on. And then you practice to be in connection. So while I'm with you, I also feel my body. I also feel when you speak more, when you're speaking, the breath is a bit shallow, right? So like, okay, Mia, come back to a deeper breath, but it's like a constant connection to myself and feeling the world through the body, but also being in touch. And it's this balance of not like being too much out, not being too much in. And it's basic, it's really nice. There's also a movement. I just turn it around so you can be like leaning forward. This is really nice practice that I can share here right now. If you lean forward, out of the body, then your energy is also like out. And you can also be too much inside, like, withdrawn, and you feel like this is a freeze mode, like, you're not in contact. And then you see like, where is your center point, like in between these worlds, like inside and outside, and then you can feel your body and see where is that? Oh, that's too much out, that's too much in. So where is the center point where I feel like my body is in the center of the outer world and the inner world,
Yeah.
And this becomes a movement practice. So very tangible, it's very practical. That's why I always movement. So why I feel like movement is, we have to change the way we move. Because when I move like this movement is not really helpful for me to be connected to myself. So movement is like acting and how do I behave in the world? And it's like really, okay, how is my posture? How's my alignment, right? Because I came from a movement practice that was pretty much about alignment. It was not Iyengar yoga, but it was functional training. It was pretty much about aligning the body in a way that we move in a very safe way, according to how it's like the natural alignment.
Beautiful. Well, I look forward to diving into that and practicing that myself. I'm going to go and feel into my body a little bit more. And I really love, although I haven't done any of the somatic movement classes as I'm filming this, but I love the conversations and how with everyone that I talk to about all the different aspects of somatic movement and this more of a slow embodiment type of movement. I love how with each conversation, I'm feeling more and more within my body, and realizing, I think this is the first bit, is like realizing how much of my life I've spent completely disembodied. And then also realizing how much that affects my transformation, my personal transformation, you know? And so that's such a big one. So thank you so much for sharing everything that you have today. This is a slightly longer interview than what we've been doing, but I think it was a great conversation. So thank you so much, Mia.
Thank you. It was my pleasure to share. And it's also very my medicine to share that, because it comes also from my suffering, I have to say. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.